Industrial digitalization is, of course, about transforming manufacturing, but it is also transforming agriculture and horticulture. And I'm delighted to be joined today by David Rosenberg, who's CEO of AeroFarms. David, the very word AeroFarms tells me that you're growing things in the sky.
Correct. Air comes from aeroponics as well as in the air. So we grow in a warehouse as opposed to a greenhouse, as opposed to the field. In about the ceiling height here, 40 feet, we'll have 12 to 14 levels of plant growth. That gets us a lot of productivity in a small footprint to enable mass production at scale close to cities, to disintermediate the supply chain, enabling local food production, again at scale. The air also refers to aeroponics. So many people have heard of hydroponics, where the roots sit in basically a pool of water. Aeroponics, we miss nutrition to the root structure. Roots want oxygen, leaves want carbon dioxide. This allows us to have a healthy oxygenation of the roots, which, as plant physiologists would say, gives us an excellent, strong root structure that allows the plants to grow fast.
Well, before we talk about how you manage this by using some of these amazing technologies, I mean, just looking behind me, I mean, that's your, part of what you do is behind us. I was astonished to see row upon row upon row in a warehouse growing. And you're saying this is going to be local. It means you can bring the food chain, you can shorten it dramatically, and you can grow in localities and literally grow and sell exactly where you are in a city. That's quite amazing.
It is, and it's to date, we've grown about 700 different varieties of plants. We've gotten the unit economics to work in leafy greens, and now we're pushing that, growing very different plants, constantly lowering our capital cost, our operating costs, to bring more varieties of plants, very different types of plants, to customers. Again, fresh food, accessible 365 days a year.
Is this liable to change the way the world feeds itself? I mean, this must have massive global implications. This is not just about first world shortening the supply chain.
Yeah, there are several important dynamics to understand. First, we need more food. We have massive population growth. We have transformations to urban centers. We have depletion of our arable land. The world's lost 30% of its arable land, of its farmland, in the last 40 years. About 70% of our fresh water goes to agriculture, and also about 70% of our freshwater contamination comes from agriculture. You also have massive issues of food contamination. 11% of all food contamination comes from leafy greens. A bigger percentage of that comes from fresh food, where you don't have a kill step. You don't have necessarily a cooking step. And additionally, spoilage. Approximately 60% of the food that comes off farms spoils before it gets eaten. So with all these pains, we need a new paradigm of how we're going to feed our planet, humanity. What AeroFarms is doing in vertical farming is illustrative of how we could think differently and where it can help with part of it. Part of it is fourth industrial revolution, enabling new ways of growing plants, and part of it is just thinking differently of where the creative solutions are going to come from.
I was going to say, you mentioned 4.0 technologies. To what extent are you only able to do what you're doing because of the technologies that companies like Dell are able to bring to the table?
It's been huge for us. So we were lost, frankly, not understanding why plants sometimes grow, sometimes don't grow. We started tracking data, at first for data's sake, seeing if we could understand what's going on in this puzzle called plant biology. And slowly, after disseminating the data, the picture became clear, and we understood sometimes we're saturating a plant with too much light, sometimes not enough light, sometimes too much water, sometimes not enough water, sometimes different nutrients and micronutrients. The problems we have to solve are analogous to the field and at the same time very different. And having the access to the information at our fingertips, having it separated into its different components to be interpreted is key. We use imaging systems and image every plant in our farm. We have some cameras using multispectral cameras that image certain plants, and it's really helping us dissect through servers. This information gets disseminated, and it helps us dissect the information and know what's going on.
Because I imagine if you've got a large warehouse, you've got tray after tray of these things, it must mean that you can't see everything without these cameras. So without this technology, you literally couldn't see what's at the back of one tray and what's going wrong.
We have sensors that are connected wirelessly through systems like the Dell gateways to connect to our different people. We have plant scientists, physiologists, plant pathologists, molecular biologists that are trying to understand what's going on. We have people in operations using lean manufacturing. So the interconnectedness of the farm is all coming together. Wouldn't be possible without a complete harmony of these systems, hardware and software, that are connecting all the data.
I'm making a guess that you're pretty much out ahead in this field. Are you actually a pioneer in this technology, or are we going to see a lot of this very quickly?
We are. We're the world leaders at AeroFarms in this space. That being said, it's not a space where there's one winner, lots of losers. There's going to be several winners in the space. It is not unlike other industries, a rush of people getting in, people excited, inspired by what AeroFarms is doing, and hopefully that competition is good and that ups the game and makes us innovate faster and get to our goals faster.
Well, David Rosenberg of AeroFarms, thank you very much for joining us at the TM studio. Best of luck with this, it sounds really exciting.
Thanks so much, Nick.
Cheers.
Cheers.